the State Assembly. A resolution is to be tabled in the Andhra Pradesh State Assembly for a Telangana state. Andhra Pradesh has reached boiling point over this demand in the last few days. Telangana Rashtra Samiti Chief K. Chandrasekhar Rao is on an 11-day-old hunger strike and Rao's health is deteriorating fast. Meanwhile, Section 144 is clamped in Hyderabad and across 10 districts in Telangana. Tomorrow, supporters of Telangana will stage an Assembly Chalo march. That brings us to our question of the day. Battle for Telangana. Are small states the best way to govern India? Telangana today, Harit Pradesh tomorrow, Gorkhaland day after. Type QTD space Y for yes, QTD space N for no. SMS to 51818. You can also vote online and express an opinion on IBNlive.com. You can also join us on Twitter.com and send us your live tweet and we'll try and play that for you on the show. Joining us on the show tonight, Abhishek Singhvi, MP and spokesperson of the Congress, is joining us. We're hoping to be joined by Ravi Shankar Prasad, MP and spokesperson of the BJP. We're joined by Professor Kancha Elaya, Osmania University and member of the Telangana Intellectual Forum. And right here in our Noida studio, T.S.R. Subramaniam, former bureaucrat and a good friend of CNN IBN, I might add. Time now for the top story on Face the Nation. CNN IBN learns that the Congress leadership has agreed to the main demand of the TRS leader K. Chandrasekhar Rao that an assembly resolution for a separate Telangana state be passed. This resolution is to be passed. The Congress leadership has asked Andhra Chief Minister K. Rosaiah to table and pass this resolution in the Andhra Pradesh Assembly for a separate state. The Congress Core Committee has met twice through the day, following which TRS is also holding talks. TRS leader K. Chandrasekhar Rao has continued his fast for the 11th day today, but his son told CNN IBN that if the state government did pass this resolution in the assembly, he would try to get his father to break the fast. Hyderabad and parts of the state remain tense. Tight security arrangements have been made in the city for tomorrow's rally by the TRS. The state capital has become almost a fortress and schools will remain shut. Earlier on CNN IBN, we spoke to TSR Chief K. Chandrasekhar Rao's son, KT Rama Rao. This is what he said on the news of the Congress move to bring an assembly resolution for a Telangana state.
Well, it's a good first step, as I said. Definitely what we would like is more clarity, more honesty, more transparency in the process, and we want a time frame as well, if that actually can be worked out immediately. Time frame to actually introduce the bill in the parliament as well. That would really take care of the problem completely.
When asked whether the agitation would now be suspended, this is what he said.
Absolutely not, and these sort of demands only prop up just to undermine the Telangana people's demand. This has happened in the past as well, and it's nothing new to us. That is just a passing phase for them. I'm sure we know who makes them, who's behind these demands. So certainly we know who it is, and the people of Telangana are ready to face that challenge.
So the initial results now of our SMS poll. The battle for Telangana. Are small states the best way to govern India? What are you telling us at the start of the show? In fact, there you have it. We'll get the results of that poll in just a bit. 41% yes, 59% no. Big majority they're saying no, small states are not the way to govern India. Let's get straight into Crossfire. In fact, let's carry on with our discussion. Abhishek Singhvi, the attitude of the Congress has been extraordinarily fickle towards the TRS and the demand for Telangana. Now, this time we're learning that a resolution is to be tabled in the State Assembly. Is this to be tabled with a view to the coming about of the Telangana state, or is this yet another face-saving divide, yet another act of fudging by the Congress?
Actually, to correct you, the one party whose stand has been extraordinarily consistent on Telangana, it's the Congress. The PDP opposed it consistently tooth and nail from 82 till now, and they switched sides only now. BJP has ridden piggyback, did nothing for it in its 6 years, nothing. The Congress has consistently said that it can and will have Telangana, but only subject to consensus of all parties. Now, for the first time, let me repeat, for the first time, miraculously, some amount of consensus is coming, both in Parliament and in the State Assembly. This was not so when those very people who are now coming down to consensus were in power.
No, is the Congress now ready to accept? Is the Congress now ready to accept the Telangana state?
There is no question of giving an easy yes/no binary answer on television on this. I must tell you that we want to take time because we want to take a decision which will stand the test of time. It's an extraordinary complex situation. First and foremost is the issue of the health of KCR, and you cannot decide under the pressure point of somebody's health. Number two is the issue of viability, the issue of sustainability, the issue of the rest of Andhra, how it will react to it. These are complex issues. We want to decide them, but we don't want to do it in a jiffy overnight. It can't be done.
But you keep promising it. But you keep promising it. No, but the Congress keeps promising it. It was in your comment. I'm telling you, it was in the comment.
Show me one.
I'm telling you.
Just read the common minimum program.
It was in the common minimum program.
Common minimum program.
Chandrasekhar Rao withdrew from the government because he felt you reneged on your promise. Again, you promised it in 2009. Why Rajashekar Reddy promised it in 2009 and went back on it again after the polls were over?
Let me correct you on your wrong use of the word promise. Read each of the only document you have to read is the CMP. It says very clearly that we will work towards it subject to consensus. You know very well that the CPM, the CPI, the TDP all were opposing. Not one of them was agreeing. Read the CMP. Yes, TRS, KCR has been consistent after 2004. But his demand is not enough. Where is the agreement of CPI, CPM and TDP?
The fact is he withdrew. He withdrew from your government. He withdrew from your government because he felt betrayed by you.
So what?
Let me bring in...
That's it really. We didn't promise anything. He withdrew. The point is, you are saying that we are the only consistent party, the point I'm trying to make.
In any event, Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, the Congress flip-flopping is somewhat astounding to the audience. But let me get in Ravi Shankar Prasad in here. Ravi Shankar Prasad, you're a staunch supporter. The BJP is a staunch supporter of the Telangana state, even though your ally TDP was against it, and that's why you couldn't bring it about. Why do you support the Telangana state? Is it because of your ideology, your genuine belief in the Telangana people, or is it simply because you want to deprive the Congress of its bastion in Andhra Pradesh, and you feel a split Andhra Pradesh will damage the Congress?
I think that would not be a fair comment to make. Madhya Pradesh was our bastion, but we agreed for Chhattisgarh. We won there. Jharkhand came about, we won it and we lost it. Uttarakhand was there. When the Congress government was coming to power, you remember it, Mr. Narendra Tiwari became the chief minister. Initially in Chhattisgarh, Mr. Ajit Jogi became the chief minister. Therefore, that charge against us is not fair. In Sagarika, 2-3 issues you need to recall. When Vajpayee government was there, where I was also a minister, you are right that in terms of precedence, the resolution of Vidhan Sabha is needed, as was done by Bihar Vidhan Sabha in case of Jharkhand, UP in case of Uttarakhand, MP in case of Chhattisgarh. But in our case, the TDP was in power, was opposed to it. Abhishek is right to that extent. But in 2004, when Chandrasekhar Rao joined the government of Mr. Manmohan Singh won, the Congress was in the majority, Rajashekar Reddy in Andhra Pradesh. Had they desired, they could have got a resolution passed. But they kept on wishy-washing, having a group of ministers, considering it and ultimately creating problem leading to withdrawal. Even now they are in the majority in Andhra Pradesh. If they are so keen about it, the best course for them was to come with a resolution. For us, small states is a matter which we appreciate politically, administratively, subject to consensus obviously, and in terms of compliance of precedents of a resolution of the concerned Vidhan Sabha. Therefore, the Congress must be held to be clear to the charge of duplicity, because the Congress party was in power in Andhra Pradesh since 2004 till date. They could have passed a resolution, but they deliberately did not do so.
Okay, let me get a quick response in from Abhishek Manu Singhvi, and then we'll go to our other panelists. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, respond to that.
Ravi has turned the Congress consistent stand upside down. The very stand is in writing in the CMP that we will work for Telangana only subject to each party's consensus. I have repeated, and nobody can dispute that at least 3 major parties, TDP, CPI and CPM, and also the BJP by proxy, did not give that consent.
No, but what are you...
As Ravi Shankar Prasad was pointing out, it was not linguistic but administrative units where states were too large. But then it was built with involvement of all stakeholders.
Yes.
It was not done by a fiat from the top, which I think brings into question the federal nature of our country.
Yes.
So we ought to ask ourselves, how far do you take this process forward? Do you then convert every district into a state and have 600 odd states
I think that's a valid question to ask.
in the country? So I think too large is obviously not viable, but is too small viable? I think the only answer is that you must have every stakeholder to have an active role in the decision-making process, which in this case seems to have not have been done.
Well, I know in this case the question is really that you cannot also put it on hold. I guess Mr. Padgaonkar, the government thought it could put the Telangana process on hold by having an announcement late in the night.
Well, if you take the genie out of the bottle, how do you put it back?
You are not going to be able to put it back. And hence the question is how many genies are going to come out, how many states will we be divided into?
And the fact of the matter is that for the past 15 odd years, we in the media who focus so much on personalities and events
Sure.
have not been analyzing trends. And the trends show that the federal arrangements in India have been changing, and changing in the following manner.
Sure.
The locus of power and the locus of authority have been shifting from the center to the state capitals, and from the state capitals further down to sub-regions.
Sure.
What has accelerated this process are economic reforms on the one hand,
Sure.
and the very democratic process on the other. People want
And also the media, television.
no, so
Sure.
I think this trend in our polity has been in the offing for all this while. What surprises me is that the national political parties, like the media, I'm afraid, have not been anticipating that this thing would happen. You require this fast and this twists and turns, the topsy-turvy manner in which this is handled. I think we've just got to once again take a hard look at not, we are getting away, let us say, from...
No, but then we have to be sure. I mean, okay, even if I were to concede your point, the point where one would
First of
disagree
all, I
would
don't
be-
agree with you that you call it a national viral. I don't think this medical thing is appropriate, because there are legitimate concerns.
Certainly, but then one has to be sure, doesn't one? What is the basis of the creation of new states? Abhishek Manu Singhvi, for example, I want his reaction, because we are all talking development. Each one of you is saying for development, let's have small states. What is the demand for the Gorkha land? Is it because of development issues, Abhishek Manu Singhvi? Or do they want to go separate ways because of ethnic differences with the peoples in the hills as opposed to peoples in the plains? And then, on that basis, how can we say no to them, saying, oh, yours is on the basis of ethnic divide, somebody else is on the basis of development, and hence, sorry, we'll give you a state, but we won't give you a state. Can we do that?
Two or three points, Arnab. Firstly, I think you should not belittle regionalism or regional parties, because somebody said very tellingly that although we started off India as a centrist or a quasi-federal constitution, much more centrist and unitary and much less federal, over the years several diluting factors have brought in unintended federalism in India, and that's a good thing. Regional parties, language, fiscal federalism, economic reform, etc. has all made a theoretically centrist unitary constitutional model into a much more factually de facto operable decentralized model, much more federal model, and that's, I think, a good thing. Number two, I think we all have to show a certain amount of statesmanship, because I want to single out the TDP and the BJP. They were the main parties whose consensus was required, which was meant in our declaration in the CMP. They came on board some time ago. On that basis, we made a declaration 2 days ago, and within 2 days, I find discordant voices from the TDP and the BJP. This is nothing but opportunism, merely because they are not in the saddle there. Having in a sense said, yes, we are all for Telangana, and in a sense the Congress having called their bluff. Today, there is backtracking by both of them. Third point is your question about the lines or the parameter or the criterion to divide states.
You can, sure, please, direct
One second, only 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Manu just talked
Only
about
1 second.
statesmanship.
I think the thing about division, ultimately,
from day one, and we have firmly conveyed to the government, our public position is too well known. I will not fall into his trap, but Arnav, I will lift the debate to a different level. I am from Bihar, my good friend Jayant is from Odisha. Both of us were part of Bengal at one point in time. First Bihar was created, then Odisha was created. Therefore, don't belittle, as Dilip rightly pointed out, regional aspirations.
So are you for a Bhojpur state?
Just a minute.
No, are you for a Bhojpur state?
Just a minute.
There is a demand for
what I'm simply telling you, what is important is, there has to be a regional model, there has to be a developmental model, there has to be a variety of other reasons. what is more important is how does the polity and how does the party in power handle
but
it?
can we not be theoretical and be specific? Are you for the creation, bifurcation of Bihar existing into Bhojpur and Bihar?
Sitting with times now with Arnab Goswami, I cannot predict 10 divisions of Assam. Don't make those assumptions, I'm sorry.
Are you for...
Let's have a serious debate about it.
Specific
Don't be so blunt, reply like this, reply like that. That is not a fair way of handling SNCC. Sorry, Mr.
And I think Ravi Shankar has a point, because I don't think that everybody is demanding a separate state or every district.
Well, there are 12
because a lot of the demands are really spurious and quite opportunistic. As far as Telangana is concerned, there is a history to it, you know, and you cannot compare it to, say, some demand
and it is equally your responsibility, Arnab Goswami. Sorry,
but let me ask you,
as the best channel of the country, as you claim, it is equally your responsibility to behave this way.
I am asking a question
in a responsible manner.
I am asking a question.
Not be very provocative.
I am asking.
That's very important.
I am asking a question to you in a very specific manner and in a responsible manner. Question is, what is legitimate and what is illegitimate?
The political process decided.
You see,
the political process will decide it.
The political process for somebody in Karbi will say, if you are looking at Gorkhaland on the basis of an ethnic divide, then I will look at a Karbi state.
I have a problem that you are giving a hint in the studio.
It is
for people in Karbi to rise.
No, it is an these are existing demands, sir.
This is not.
That's where I ask, where will you draw the line? Jay, is this an unfair question to ask today?
Hang on.
Where and when will you draw the line? I mean, let's not push it to the media. These are existing demands.
If you go back a little bit more than half a century ago, the linguistic basis for creation of states was viciously opposed by many important people in the country. And it was predicted that that would be the end of the country, but it wasn't. Now, the real problem, I think, this time around is that some parties, and I'm not going to point my fingers at anyone specifically. No, some parties want to hunt with the hounds as well as run with the hares.
Name the parties, let them respond.
And that's where the problem arises.
No, you're talking about both the BJP and the Congress.
I'm not
one of them.
I'm not going to name either of the parties. I'm not going to name any party. But I think what happens is, obviously, demands arise from an area. In this case, it is a developmental demand. It is not an ethnic demand. In the case of Telangana.
Yes, it is. It is.
And
right, absolutely right.
There are many parts of the country which can have a legitimate claim that they have been neglected.
Yes.
But there are other answers. The answer is not to keep chopping up all the time. And I think at least the national parties have a responsibility to look at alternative ways of bringing development to these areas if the unit of administration is not too large.
Have we looked at them? Have we looked at them? That's the question. You know, why are regional imbalances created? Mr. Padgaonkar, legitimate point you raised there. Regional imbalances also created because chief ministers don't provide funds to development boards. You can create development boards, regional development boards, transfer funds to them, give more powers to them. You don't want to give that because it will undermine your own authority. That creates regional imbalances. I mean, if that had been done in Telangana, maybe this whole festering feeling that we've been left behind wouldn't have existed. So have we tackled the real problem?
But listen, the festering feeling is on two counts.
Yes.
First of all, there are issues of identity which have to be addressed. I mean, Bodo land is a prime example. All right. But I think overriding these issues of identity is the question of development. And development itself has acquired a different accent in the past few years.
Sure.
People no longer want to trust promises.
Sure.
They want performance.
Sure.
And the performance is always at the grassroots level.
Yeah.
You cannot, some joint secretary sitting in Mumbai and trying to determine what's going to happen in a district in Vidarbha is no longer going to matter. You will need to take another look at the federal arrangement, come up with certain criteria on which you develop a consensus. What happens is, please go back to the terrible violence that took place with the creation of Maharashtra.
Yeah.
Everyone knew that the Maharashtra Samiti was building up a thing, but people didn't anticipate it.
They did.
Political parties did not anticipate it. The same thing has happened to Andhra. She is right. For 50 years this demand has been going on.
Yep.
But you never seriously address those demands.
But today can either the BJP or the... Yes, Jay, okay, quick.
I think the developmental angle needs to be treated different from the ethnic angle. And for example, in Odisha, now when Naveen Patnaik became chief minister, we inherited an issue that parts of western Odisha felt that they were being neglected.
Sure.
So as a regional party, the onus was on us, and the steps were taken to set up a specific developmental board, and a large part of the investments coming into Odisha were directed to western Odisha. Infrastructure like bridges and roads were given high priority in that area.
Yeah.
That's the way to tackle some of these
Jay,
issues.
at the same time, political parties are flip-flop.
I would like to just add one thing, Arna, if you permit me. When you take up an issue of a new state or addressing the regional concerns, you will have to keep your political interest primarily separately. For instance,
how it's possible to do that?
It is possible.
No, can you
take the case of when Uttarakhand was created, when Chhattisgarh was created, we were in power in Delhi.
Yes,
at both the places Congress government came into power. Ajit Jogi here, Narendra Tiwari in Uttarakhand.
Yes.
Now we could have stonewalled it because the BJP is not going to come to power. Ultimately people brought us back through the ballot paper. Therefore it is very important. When you take up these matters, you have to be a little statesman type. What I see the problem is Telangana, where I am with Aarti and Dilip completely, that Telangana has a regional aspiration going for the last more than 50 years. But the way the Congress party, which has been the principal force in both the regions in Andhra Pradesh, has handled it.
But then there was a process. No, there was a process. There was a process. The difference between what you mentioned Uttaranchal, because you mentioned Uttaranchal, is totally different, Mr. Ravishankar Prasad. For the principal reason that, as you are aware, the Uttar Pradesh Assembly thrice passed a resolution. It went through process. Three times passed the resolution. First in 90 when you were in power. Then in 94 when SP was in power, third in 97.
I was just going to say that or
so, there was a process.
Take the case of Bihar Assembly. Lalu Prasad was dead against it. Yeah. We counseled him, we persuaded him. Here Congress party is in majority in Andhra Pradesh. Let ask Abhishek Manu Singhvi, why hasn't Congress party passed a resolution? The Congress party is so clear about it.
But because they are against the resolution. I mean today...
But they are having a majority, I suppose.
No, they have a thin majority. You would lose the majority today if you were to try and pass a resolution.
No, consensus building has not been there. Management of political affairs by Congress party in this case, I would say, is not very clear because the Congress party's intentions are such.
You're making it political, I am not, Mr. Prasad. But let Abhishek Manu Singhvi respond to that accusation from Ravishankar Prasad directly tonight. Yes, sir.
While professing repeatedly not to make it political, my friend Ravi always makes it political. So let me give you a political answer. First of all, the BJP has no presence in Andhra, so he can afford to be gratuitous about it and a little casual about Andhra. It has absolutely no presence. But assume the BJP had a presence. Do you think when the TDP has at least 30, 40 MLAs rising up against it, the BJP would be any different? And that's the problem with the Congress as well. We have differing views. How do you manage it? It's very easy to say there's no political management. That's number two. All the other states, not only Uttarakhand, you will find that a large number of cases, the assemblies have passed resolutions. In this case, I'll tell you a very simple and important reason why we did not pass a resolution in Andhra. It's because we have been of the stated written view. Unlike the BJP, we did not whisper this for 6 long years. Unlike the TDP, which did a volte-face, we had a written stand that we want consensus, take it or leave it, that's our stand. And we wanted consensus because ultimately, during coalition politics in the center, it has to come through a constitutional amendment in the center. Where you get a two-third, unless you generate a consensus.
You're twisting it, Dr. Singhvi. Just common minimum program, you're twisting it. Common minimum program said you are committed to Telangana. Now you are saying we will seek a consensus so that the blame can...
Read the common, no, just read. I'm sorry.
Just bring...
Arnab, 1 minute. Arnab, you're wrong. Please pick up the common minimum program. I am quoting from the common minimum program. We are all for Telangana, we are committed to Telangana, but it can be done only by consensus. Please pick it up and read it. That's where the consensus comes from in that CMP.
And number two, the consensus is important.
Without a resolution in the Vidhan Sabha.
2004 common minimum program said appropriate time after due consultations and consensus. Now, if you're saying that